Hey everyone, I've never posted on here, but I wanted to share a story that actually happened to me. This story has been pretty hard for me to talk about, as it was one of the freakiest moments of my life. I also really just wanted some input on the situation, to be honest. This happened around March of 2021. I believe I was 17 at the time. One of my friends was visiting from out of town, and we had gotten really into airsoft. The neighborhood I lived in had a large area of undeveloped land just up the street. It was full of pine trees and stretched for a few miles. We used to play airsoft there all the time and called it the woods. My friend, we'll call him Christian, and I devised a plan to invite a large group of our high school friends to the woods and play hide and seek, with the twist that Christian and I would dress up in camo and ghillie suits and shoot our friends with airsoft guns just to mess with them. So we got dressed up. He was wearing a tan ghillie suit, mask and all, and I was in camo BDUs, a black mask, and a weird mesh tan camo sheet tied around me like a poncho. We ended up finding a ditch in the woods close to the edge of my neighborhood and set up our first spot. Our plan was to move from spot to spot throughout the night while avoiding our group of friends. By the time we were prepared, it was around 6 p.m., and the sun was beginning to set. We waited about 30 minutes, hearing branches snapping, pine cones falling, footsteps, etc., which we chalked up to woods noises. Around 7 p.m., we got the text that the group had arrived and was ready to look for us. For reference, they had no idea we were wearing camo, so we sent some cryptic text back like, "Come and find us, and we can see you." We began hearing the guys running around and hid in our first spot. This continued for a while, but as time progressed, my friends started getting really close to us. So we decided to move to our second spot. The way the woods were set up was north and south of the woods was about 5 miles of just trees, where east was about 4 miles, and west was only a couple hundred yards. The west side also faced a main highway next to my neighborhood. So Christian and I walked to the west side and then south into the woods, hugging the perimeter of the trees. We walked for some time, keeping an eye on our friends, who had no idea where we were. We ended up coming up on this super deep trench in the back of the woods. We peered in and saw it was about 15 feet down and pretty steep. So we slid into the trench and waited at the bottom. After a few minutes, it was pitch black. Christian realized he had left his glasses at our first spot, so he said he would quickly run back and grab them, then come back immediately. I was hesitant but agreed, and he took off. I waited for probably 15 minutes and started hearing some commotion. I could hear my friends saying something like, "I saw someone. They're running. How are they so fast?" I figured Christian had gotten caught, so I was getting ready to give up. Suddenly, I heard someone slide into the trench on the opposite side. This trench was about 15 feet deep and 45 feet long, so I couldn't see the other side without walking over. I assumed Christian had slid in and escaped from our friends because I heard them running somewhere else. I started calling out to Christian, but I didn't get a response. I got annoyed and said, "What the fuck are you doing?" As soon as I said that, a stick flew out of the darkness and landed right in front of me. I was confused and kept calling out for Christian until I heard whatever was on the other side of the trench start moving. I heard leaves rustling and what sounded like someone's knee popping. I paused and stopped talking. I waited a few more seconds, and whatever was on the other side started taking very deliberate, heavy steps. Slow and heavy. I figured it was one of my friends trying to freak me out, so I took one of the airsoft guns we brought and switched it to full auto. I fired a few bursts into the darkness, figuring whoever it was would yell or something, but the steps just kept coming. At this point, I was more confused than afraid, so I grabbed my stuff and climbed out of the trench. I ran to the western perimeter of the woods and eventually got caught by all the guys. We laughed about it for a while, but one of my friends asked, "How did you change so fast?" I was confused and asked what he meant. He explained that they had seen someone who was really skinny and tall running around the woods. I'm 6 feet 1 inch and probably 175 lbs at the time. They all gave me a weird look when I told them I had been wearing the camo and poncho all night. I ignored it and went to find Christian. I walked a ways and found him shining a small flashlight in the direction of the trench I was in prior. He jumped when I walked up to him and said, "What the fuck?" I apologized for scaring him, but he stopped me. "How did you get over here so quickly?" he asked. I once again asked what he meant, and he said he saw someone peering from behind a tree just behind the trench, literally while I was in the process of getting caught. My heart sank, but we assumed someone from the group was messing with us. We met up with the group and did a roll call, but everyone that was invited was there. Christian and I started explaining what we had seen, and the entire group explained they had seen a really tall and skinny silhouette sprinting around the woods. They assumed it was me due to the build. We walked to the tree where Christian saw the silhouette. He pointed to where the head and shoulder of the silhouette was behind the tree, but the spot where the head was literally probably 8 feet off the ground. Everyone got really quiet, and we decided to quickly leave the woods. It wasn't until we had exited the woods and gotten onto the street that led to my house that Christian and I paused and looked back. We waited a few seconds and heard what sounded like a distant whistle from deep in the woods. We freaked out and quickly got back to my house, where I told my parents. It's been years since then, but I still get freaked out wondering what happened and what would have happened if I stayed in the trench longer. I've told a bunch of people this story, but everyone thinks I'm bullshitting. You guys are just gonna have to take my word for it. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.